The woman Chairman Cummings is referring to there is Tricia Newbold, the whistleblower who alerted Congress about the at least 25 Trump administration officials who received security clearances despite opposition from her and her colleagues in the personnel office. She spoke exclusively to NBC News White House correspondent Peter Alexander about the humiliation she says she faced from Carl Klein in retaliation for her speaking out.
What happened to you inside the EOB?
The most recent suspension, 14 days unpaid. Probably the worst ones is the retaliation against my disability. So moving the security files out of my reach, not once, not twice, 3 times, and moving other office equipment out of my reach.
Literally putting on shelves that you couldn't reach.
Yeah. Yep, so it was definitely humiliating.
How did that make you feel to have that experience?
Humiliated. Absolutely. But it didn't stop me from doing what was right.
Why is this issue so important that you felt the need to speak out?
The protection of national security is not a Democratic issue or a Republican issue. It's an American issue. And we as security professionals owe it to make all our recommendations in the best interest of national security.
It's America's national security at stake here, correct?
Absolutely.
Heidi, you were in that House Oversight Committee hearing room yesterday where we saw Elijah Cummings and Jim Jordan going back and forth. But to the larger point here, how close are they to finding more information about these 25 people that Tricia Newbold says were granted security access despite the protests of her office?
This is why you're seeing the subpoena. If that was a confusing exchange, the reason why Cummings is issuing the subpoena is because Carl Klein, he says, has refused to come despite several requests. And when he finally did agree to come, Willie, it was only after this whistleblower came forward and he set conditions that he would only speak generally about policy. And so this subpoena is an attempt to compel him to be more open and to actually speak about specific incidences. And if you saw the frustration behind Cummings, there's a reason for that, in that if you listen to what he said, there are others like Ms. Newbold in the White House. This is something that Cummings said yesterday during the hearing. He said she's crying out, she's begging for us to do something, and the way that we treat her is something that's going to be watched by other people in the White House, other would-be whistleblowers. I thought that that was notable. And secondly, this has been really lost in that this has been a bipartisan concern in the last Congress, Willie, on security clearances. There were letters that were written that were signed on by both Republicans and Democrats. The difference now is the Democrats actually have the power to do something about it. They have the power to subpoena. That is a step taken when Republicans were in control, even though they too were concerned about clearances, going back to Rob Porter, the assistant who was kicked out because they found out that he had domestic violence accusations against him. But what we're seeing now with this reporting and with this whistleblower is that this is more akin to something that's systemic, with 25 people having been given clearances despite recommendations against it.
You know, Mika, watching that interview with that young woman working in the White House, who clearly is afflicted with dwarfism, you have to ask yourself, who are these people?
Who are these people?
Who are they? How were they raised?
They've got to I can't believe that story.
That's sociopathic behavior.
It's
Incredible.
Who does that? It's set from the top, though. This is Donald Trump's command climate.
Set from the top. Donald Trump, we have witnessed Donald Trump's cruelty throughout his presidential campaign and his presidency. He's constantly demeaning to people, degrading of people, mocking a disabled reporter back in the 26 campaign. This is the kind of thing that does the fish rots from the head down. And Donald Trump has demonstrated a wanton kind of cruelty towards a variety of people across the spectrum. And of course, the people who work for him take their cues from Donald Trump. I will say, though, that on the matter of substance, this story links back, Mike, to this thing we were talking about before. What's the commonality between this story and Mar-a-Lago, which is a reckless, wanton disregard for national security protocols, the willy-nilly disregard of the professional services decisions about who should get security clearances and what levels, reeks in the same way as we'll just let cell phones into the Oval Office, we'll let cell phones into security and malware into the Situation Room. This is basically like, we don't really, these are, national security, the way
Whatever.
it's supposed to be
Yeah.
done, the protocol, the professionalism of the security apparatus that has figured out protocols to make sure that the national security of the United States is maintained. The president doesn't care about that, nor does his
And
administration.
that's why when we hear the Mueller report, oh, these redactions are so important for national security. Oh, yeah, tell me that after you give anyone a clearance.
And to put it in the
We'll get to that.
context of what we in the news business do for a living, we have these violations of national security, potentially dangerous violations of national security. We have the inhumane cruelty of the White House staff putting materials on shelves where this young woman could not reach them. And what are we talking about? Joe Biden
Right.
hugging someone. We have lost our perspective.
Well, and that's a lot driven by this president who desensitizes people and gets them used to his lies.